Now this brings us to our question and answer session. Would all of our wonderful speakers please come back online? Just to note, standing in for Adam for the question and answers, we have Heather Bergman, and she is the EVA Tools Project Manager. So thank you, Heather, for joining us for the question and answers. All right. Great. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. Let's start with Kelsey. Your question is, one of the original LSSW themes was, quote, how to best engage the public. Will there be a session on this important topic?
Yeah, thanks. So when we were initially planning the in-person workshop in April, we were going to have 3 days where people could get together in person and talk about a lot of the issues we put on the original website. Instead, we spun up these series of virtual workshops, which actually ended up being, I think, a real success to be able to target specific topics as they arose kind of in program development. So the way that we've designed the LSSW series is to foster community engagement and input from the public. So we hope that the community has been able to chime in on these workshops and participate. And if you haven't been able to make it, I know we all have a lot of virtual meetings. We really encourage you to submit comments on the reports on the website. You'll see an email about that in the coming days. So I think we on the organizing committee see each and every LSSW session as a chance to engage with the broader community and gather that community input. That being said, if you think that there is a topic that you'd like to cover, there is a place on the website, which we can put in the chat, for you to suggest topics for future workshop sessions. So thanks for that question.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Heather, I'm going to turn to you and Jose. These are kind of joint questions for both of you. Heather, you may have addressed some of this in the chat, but I was hoping to get you to answer it live too, so everybody could hear the answer. So the question is, the crew would have to lunge forward to reach a leg-mounted tool belt since they won't be able to bend far enough at the waist, if that's correct. How does that affect astronaut ConOps?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with the suit folks on a daily basis. We work with the astronaut corps and numerous different test subjects to try and find the right place to put all this hardware. So the pictures you see in the slides are notional at this point in time. We're going to work with the people in the suits to make sure that wherever they're located, they're easy to get to and that they're not going to affect the mobility of the suit.
Great. Thank you very much. Jose, did you have anything you wanted to add on to that? Okay, great.
No, I think she covered it, right? It'll be through evaluations and assessment, and as we go through the development.
Perfect. Thanks. There are more coming your way, so you'll have more to say. Okay, so for Jose, are the risks being addressed for the XEMU development program greater or less than the type of risk that almost resulted in a disaster a few years ago during an ISS EVA by Luca Parmitano? Or are the risks taken into account when ISS spacesuits were designed and developed a generation behind the current state of the art?
Yeah, so I guess in general, as we kind of push farther out from where we've been, the risk is going to be higher. However, a lot of the team's focus is on mitigating those risks. And so specifically for the issue that happened here on ISS, those things are being taken into account. That particular failure mode, it will be different because part of it is kind of how the different ventilation and thermal loops were connected on the suit. So that's different on the PLIS and the suit design. So we definitely are taking into account and trying to learn as much as we can from previous lessons that we've had. So.
Great, thank you. And one more, I think, quick one for Jose. So, of course, one of the objectives is to land the first female and the first person of color on the moon. When you state that the suits will fit 90% male and female, what is the range for just females?
So it is the intention is to be as inclusive as we can, and so we are. It is 90% of female and 90% of male, and the goal is the first percentile female all the way to the 99th percentile male is the range. And then the team is doing things like 3D scans of the crew members as well as candidate crew members to try to make sure that the sizing and the shape and everything can accommodate as many people as we can feasibly.
Great. Thank you very much. Cindy, going over to you. So there's a question in the chat. How will geologic training, geologic astronaut training change once a landing site and geologic traverse are chosen for Artemis 3?
Yeah, so once we have a science team, then we're going to look to how we're going to integrate the mission specific training with the science team and the science objectives into the base that I just described.
Great. All right, Julie, let's go to you. And this might be a joint question for Julie, Adam, Jose, and Cindy, so all of you, except for Kelsey, you're off the hook. How are your teams leveraging lessons learned from Apollo into hardware development?
Yeah, that's a great question. On the curation side, the Apollo lab has a really strong history of success and sample curation. We expect to have, again, this depends on, some of the decisions that the carry team will have to make in the near future. But we expect to have a lot of similarity and a lot of overlap with how we curate the Artemis samples, at least for non-volatile samples, relative to Apollo. So there's a lot of success there. Also, the Apollo Next Generation Sample Analysis Program, that's a huge success, and that's a testament to how well the samples have been curated. There are some investigations within ANCSA that are actually specifically looking at how well the samples were curated. And so once those investigations are complete, we'll learn even more about how to curate the sample even better than we have.
Great, thank you. Heather, Jose, and Cindy, do you have anything you'd like to say as well on that?
I guess I will add that similarly, we are building on the Apollo experiences for training, and we're doing the operational tests with tools already in the rock yards, and all of that is adopting Apollo lessons learned, and I think we plan to continue that trajectory.
Excellent. Heather?
Yeah, for tools, we spent quite a bit of time looking through all the different Apollo missions and reaching out to anybody who had any information, reading a lot of papers, going back and watching the missions themselves, talking to people back here on the ground, trying to make sure that we're not reinventing anything that doesn't need to be reinvented, and we're not making the same mistakes that have already been made. So we spent a lot of time looking through the different lessons learned databases and reaching out to folks to learn as much as we can, since they've been there. We want to make sure we know what they know.
Thanks, and Jose?
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess nothing else to add.
Great. Then we'll shift the next question to you. So
Okay.
will there be a generic locations on the XEMU for attaching, connecting small portable science instruments to passively take geologic geophysical data during EVAs?
So yeah, the suit will have various different connection points, and so that's something that is being discussed as to what tools and where are they connected in the best location for all that. So yeah, that is something that we'll continue to plan out and develop.
And Jose, I can help you out with that one a little bit. So we are working on a tool belt of sorts to put on the suit so they can carry some of the things around with them that they want to carry around on a regular basis. And there will be connection points on that as well. Right now they're planned for specific things, but there'll likely be a few extras here and there for things that the crew wants to put on them while they're on the moon and they start to get used to walking around with them.
Great, thank you very much. Julie, let's shift over to you for a second. What's the status of in situ sample analysis, such as requirements, definition for in situ analysis on board a future pressurized rover or fixed base habitat?
So I'm actually going to pitch that one over. I think Kelsey, you might be the best person to answer that one. So Kelsey?
Sure. Yeah, so lots of work going on in sort of allowing for that space and sort of selection of payloads. There in some of the cross-directorate groups like the USIG and the Science and Technology Utilization Office that we've heard so much about. There's been a lot of conversation about that topic. You saw in Julie's presentation about the documentation that's currently being prepped through the USIG. There's a specific call out for in situ sample analysis requirements, definition, and capabilities that Cindy and Julie are both participating in. So there's a lot of conversations going on, and you heard in Sarah's presentation that there will be, there already have been instrument calls, and there will be future instrument calls as well as science team calls that are also going to touch that issue. So lots of conversations going on now, and we hope, as you heard in Sarah's conversation, I believe, to have more calls out about that topic in the future.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kelsey. And that does actually bring us to the end of our question and answer session for now. Thank you all to our speakers for staying on and being put in the hot seat for these last 15 minutes. We really appreciate your answering all these questions. There were quite a lot that we didn't get to, and I apologize, but we want to be respectful of everybody's time. And Kelsey's last statement, I think, is really the key takeaway that we want you to get from this meeting, is from this workshop, is that there are a lot of conversations that are happening across the directorates and with the experts out in the field, in the community, to get the information we need to ensure and enhance science return from these crewed missions to the surface. So we're all very excited working together to get back to the surface of the moon, both with CLPS and with humans. So there's a lot of exciting things going on for the moon. There's one other question that I will answer from the online tool about whether the slides will be made available after the workshop. The slides themselves will not be available, but the recordings, we've recorded all of these sessions today, and those will be up on the survey website. You'll get a link for those as soon as they're up and loaded. So thank you all. I don't know if anybody else has any closing remarks that they'd like to make, Sarah or Jake.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find the mute button. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for participating today. We had a good number of participants that were on the entire time, and we went over a lot of material today. So thank you all. Thank you for your participation over the last year as well. I think Kelsey commented on some statistics about how many different people have participated in quite a diverse set of topics, and I think her presentation about the overall content that we covered is amazing, and those reports are something that we're definitely looking at as we move forward, working together between the directorates. So thank you all again for participating, and we look forward to continue to engage through these workshops. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Jake just hit all of my points, so thank you all. And don't forget that there are those 5 draft workshop reports up on the website, and we really love your feedback on any of them. So please take the time to look through them if you have it.
Thanks, everybody. That brings us to adjourn on the agenda. So thank you all. Have a wonderful evening and afternoon if you're on the West Coast. And we'll see you next time.